Hello everyone, once again welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to discuss about lease finance business. Yes, it is one of the 9 relevant activities of economic substance regulation. And if you are new to economic substance regulation, I would suggest you to watch my previous videos on ESR. The links are mentioned in the description box below. So let's check out today's contents. So these are the contents: definition of lease finance business, exceptions to lease finance business, core income generating activities of lease finance business, and some examples. So what is a lease finance business, or what is the definition given to a lease finance business by the economic substance regulation? So as per the economic substance regulation, the definition given to a lease finance business is that those licensees that offer credit or financing for any kind of consideration and includes intra-group financing. So as per this definition, let's see what are the important aspects. So the first one is that offering credit or financing, and the next one is that for consideration. So these are the two important aspects relating to lease finance business as per this definition. So first one is offering credit or financing. So what all activities are including in this? Let's see. So offering credit or financing includes making loans to related or unrelated parties, entering into finance leases in relation to assets other than land, and providing credit in the form of hire purchase agreements, long-term credit plans, and so on. Now, the next important part of the definition is consideration. So when you say consideration, consideration can be of different kinds. It can be in the form of interest, or in the form of processing fees, or gains upon conversion of loan into the share capital of the debtor, or late payment penalties, and so on. So like I said before, the two important aspects of a lease finance business is that offering credit or financing and the consideration. If a company is offering a credit or financing to another company and there is no consideration involved, in that case they are not doing a lease finance business for the purpose of economic substance regulation. So you should be mindful of this. If there is no consideration, then that is not a lease finance business for the purpose of economic substance regulation. And consideration doesn't mean that you should earn a profit. It should be any kind of consideration. There's no need, it is not mandatory that you should earn a profit. So now let's check out the exceptions to the lease finance business. First one, I already explained to you that where there is no expectation of consideration from the credit at the time of it is provided, then the UAE business will not be considered as carrying on a lease finance business. That is, when there is no consideration, it is not considered as a lease finance business. The next one is that the investment in bonds or similar securities or debt instruments that are traded on a regulated exchange would not be considered as a lease finance business. That means if the securities are traded through a regulated stock exchange, it will not be considered as doing a lease finance business for the purpose of economic substance regulation. So these are the exceptions to the lease finance business as per the economic substance regulation. So now it's time for us to check the core income generating activities of lease finance business. There are basically 5 core income generating activities as per the economic substance regulation for lease finance businesses. Those are agreeing funding terms, identifying and acquiring assets to be leased, setting the terms and duration of any financing or leasing, monitoring and revising any agreements, managing any risks. So basically these are the 5 main core income generating activities of a lease finance business. Now let's explain each one of these in detail. So the first one is agreeing funding terms. This relates to the funding of licensee itself, and it includes agreeing the type of funding, the quantum of funding, the currency, the rate of interest payable, the securities given, and so on. So this is basically about the funding terms. The next one is identifying and acquiring assets to be leased. So as the name suggests, it means identifying the asset and then purchasing the asset and then lease out the asset which is already purchased and agree the period of lease, and it also include negotiating the acquisition and the terms of the supply of assets to be leased and hired. So this is very simple. It is very clear from the title itself, identifying and acquiring assets to be leased. Next one is setting the terms and duration of any financing or leasing. So this talks about the terms and duration of the financing or leasing. So the licensee is expected to have the authority and undertake the negotiation of the amount of financing or leasing to be provided, the financial and other terms and conditions, and the relevant legal agreements to be entered into. So this basically talks about terms and duration of the leasing. Next one is monitoring and revising any agreements. This includes obtaining data about the borrower, testing compliance against covenants, extending the duration or changing the terms of financing provided, and ensuring all relevant information is fed into the decision-making process and any amended financing terms. The last one is managing any risks. So this talks about managing risks. This refers to the activities in relation to debt collection, monitoring and maintaining the conditions of the underlying leased assets, entering into swap and hedging arrangements, and developing and implementing strategies to reduce or spread the risks. So basically, this talks about managing any type of risks. And how are these risks managed? It can be through entering into swaps or hedging agreements and so on. So these are the core 5 income generating activities of lease finance business. So let's discuss our first example. ABC LLC, which is based in UAE, lends AED 1 million to its subsidiary XYZ LLC at a 10% interest rate per annum. So whether ABC LLC is undertaking a lease finance business. So if you recollect the definition of lease finance business, which we discussed before, the 2 important aspects were, one is offering credit and the other one was consideration. So in this example, definitely ABC LLC is offering a credit. The credit is 1 million dirhams to its subsidiary, and the next point as per the definition was for consideration. Here, yes, there is a consideration, 10% interest rate per annum. So definitely ABC LLC is doing a lease finance business because it is giving an interest bearing shareholder loan to XYZ LLC. So now let's see our next example. Trade Company LLC, which is based in UAE, sells office supplies and allows its customers a 45-day payment terms on invoices. If customers do not pay within 45 days, the trade company will charge late payment interest. So whether Trade Company LLC is engaged in a lease finance business, that's a question here. So in this case, this trade credit arrangement is not a lease finance business, as the credit is not offered with the intention of generating interest. But the intention behind this trade credit arrangement is to facilitate the trading business of trade company. So in this case, the Trade Company LLC is not engaged in a lease finance business. So moving on to our next example, Treasury Company LLC, which is based in UAE, is part of the JMR Group and acts as a central treasury center for the group. Treasury Company enters into external borrowing arrangements and lends the borrowed funds to the group companies at the same interest rate it is being charged by the external funders. So whether Treasury Company LLC is undertaking a lease finance business. So let's see what exactly a Treasury Company LLC is doing as per this example. As per this example, Treasury Company is acting as a central treasury center for the entire group. It is borrowing money from the external funders and it is lending the borrowed funds to the entire group companies at the same interest rate. So this I have already explained when I was explaining the definition of lease finance business before, that consideration is mandatory for a lease finance business and it is profit is not mandatory for a business, for a lease finance business. So in this case, Treasury Company is not applying a markup on the interest it is being charged, but it is offering the financing to the group companies for the same consideration, and it is thus considered as carrying on a lease finance business. Here there is a consideration but there is no profit, but profit is not mandatory for lease finance business as per the economic substance regulation. It is only consideration which is mandatory. So in this example, definitely Treasury Company LLC is undertaking a lease finance business. And I hope with these examples, you got a better understanding about the lease finance business. One more thing which I would like to bring to your attention is that licensees engaged in banking, insurance, and investment fund management businesses may also perform lease or financing activities as part of their normal business operations. So in order to prevent duplicate reporting, such licensees are not also considered as engaged in a lease finance business and will not need to separately demonstrate economic substance in respect of any ancillary lease financing activity. This I've already explained to you in my previous videos on banking and insurance. So with that, we have reached to the end of today's session, and I hope the session was really useful to all of you. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch up in the next video. Thank you so much. Take care and stay safe. Bye.